there, welcome back to Board Game Specialists. I'm Carla.
And I'm Melanie.
And we are on episode 65. Today we're talking about games that are better than Risk. How was this list for you?
You know what? It wasn't bad. And looking back at my list, I find I have games that are like completely different from each other. Because I went with this aspect of Risk would be a good game to kind of play for that. But if you like this aspect, then this would be a good game for that. So if you look at my list and you didn't see the title, you probably wouldn't know what I'm trying to do here. So how'd it go for you?
Yeah, surprisingly, it was pretty easy. Like, I kind of just looked around and I'm like, oh yeah, that's better, that's better, that's better, that's better. So I had quite a list that I could choose from. Yeah, no, it was good. But before we get into that, what have you been playing lately?
Well, we had a game day at my house yesterday, and you were there, and a couple of our friends were there, so that was a lot of fun. We played awesome. From the morning till about supper time, so got a lot played. It was great. I got to play a game that you introduced to me called Birds of a Feather, and I was really impressed with that. We played it a couple times in a row, and it's funny, like the explanation. I was like, I have no idea what we're doing. But you have, I think it's 14 cards. So it all gets passed out and you get 14 cards. And each of your cards are going to be of a different terrain of birds, I guess. And then the bird cards that you have is also going to have either an egg or a feather or two feathers or three feathers or a wing or a claw or two wings and so on. And what's going to happen is each of these are assigned a different value. And some of them have multiple cards in the deck, and some of them are more unique and only have like a few or just a one. And the first round, what you're going to do is you're all going to put a card face down, and then you reveal it. And then you get to cross off that type, like the type of terrain and the symbol off of your little sheet there. So say, okay, great, I've got that turquoise 3 feathers now. But at the same time, whoever played on that same round, if anybody's played the same type of terrain birds, you get to cross off what they've played also. And then it's like, oh, okay, great, you played a single wing, so then I get to cross that off also. So now I have 2 in that row, and then they're worth so many values. And then those kind of get pushed into the middle, and you put in a new card. And what's interesting is when you play the second card, you will then again claim your card, and the card that matches the color or the terrain. But you also get to match up with the previous round. So if a couple of people had played woods birds as well that you hadn't claimed the first round, then maybe you would play a woods card as well, trying to claim those also. The one thing that can come up, though, is you can play the symbol that has the claw. And what that's going to do is that claw is going to chase away the birds of that same terrain before anybody else gets a chance to match it up. So it was... Yeah, it was a really interesting, simple game, really. And it's a small game. There's really not that much to it, but it was a lot of fun. And then we're using an app to kind of track everything. And then if you ever got every symbol of one terrain, then you got kind of bonus points for that. Me and Cherry tied the first game, and I think I won the second game. So maybe that's why I liked it so much. But it was really good. And then the second or another game that we played yesterday, one that I had played once before, and then we all played, and that's Mystic Path. And Mystic Path is interesting. Like, you have this board that has a bunch of holes in it, and then you fill these holes with these little round discs that have a different word of something. And then you fill this in, and then you put your little token on like your starting area. So you start on one of those discs, and then you get a card that has a map, and it's going to send you from one word to another, and there's a path of 10 words that you're going to go through. And then you get 4 cards, which is not a lot, but they are words on either side. Most of the time it's like opposites, so it'd be like soft, hard, or something like that. So you have 4 cards that have different descriptive words on it, and you're going to be assigning a card. Well, you do 3 at a time, so you'll be assigning 3 cards for what you think trying to get the others to guess the path that you're trying to go. So maybe I'm sitting over here and I want to go to spam, and then I'm going to go to taxes and then to airplane. But you only have 4 cards with words that may or may not be helpful for what you have. And then we had but then you also get a little token with an X on it. So you can always say, instead of maybe it's good, you could be not good, so maybe I'll put good, not good for spam. And then somebody else at the table was like, no, but it's actually really pretty tasty. So that's not what it is, so, and you get the conflict of opinions that kind of shows. And then you get that, I have crap words here, so it's not helpful. And then you're trying to make it through so that everybody gets through their path before the fifth round or something like that. Because you guess 3 each time. And then sometimes nope, we went the wrong way completely. So it's an interesting game. And I think it's one that reveals quite a bit from the people you're playing with and the way that they think and what comes up. And then you can the other people are discussing things and you can't say anything. It's oh, and then it's oh my God, you guys are so not right now, but you can't say anything. So it's just oh, great. But it's an interesting game. It's one that was fun to play, and that's Mystic Path. So how about you? What game have you been playing? Or do you want to talk about any of these first?
Yeah, well, I was just happy that we got that. I brought it because I had bought it used, and I knew you had played it before. And so I thought, this will be a good time for you to teach us. So
it was a simple game to play and learn, to teach and learn. Because I had only played it the one time, so I didn't know it very well. But it's not complicated to get going with it. Yeah.
I thought it would be easier, but it's tricky.
To,
get that path. But yeah, it was good. Awesome. Okay, so 2 other ones we played yesterday. One was Distilled. Now, this was a Kickstarter that I just received, and Ashley also received. We both brought copies because we weren't sure how many people. If there's going to be more people, we could have had 2 games going if other people want to play. But what you are doing in this game is you have inherited this old rundown distillery or abandoned distillery, and you're trying to build it back up to be the best and make the most money, with points, obviously. So you start out with a person, a character, and they have an ability which we didn't use throughout the whole game because we had it flipped to the other side, and then someone noticed halfway through. We're like, oh my God, I could have been doing this the whole time. But anyway, we didn't use that part, so it'll be even better next time we play. But so you start with this character, and then you have this initial recipe or family recipe that you are trying to complete. You don't have to. I don't think it's necessary to win the game, but it does give you big points. It's played over 7 rounds, and you start with a few starting ingredients, a little bit of money, and then you start with a metal barrel and 1 bottle. And so what you do in the game is it's not so much worker placement, it's just action. You just take actions and you go around the table. What you could do in your actions is you could buy ingredients from the premium market. You could buy upgrades from the premium market, which are mostly people that will help do things for you, or some buildings or different things. You can buy upgraded barrels or bottles. And those can kind of be like a set collection thing because you want to get some from all the same regions or one from each region. You might need them for different goals because there's about 6 or 7 goals that you're all trying to achieve, and only one person can achieve them. The first person to do it gets the badge. So depending on what those are requiring, and there's a whole bunch in the box, so it can completely change the game. You can just buy or receive from the basic market ingredients because you always need a yeast and a water and some type of sugar to build the more premium spirits, like, whiskey, rum, gin, all those kind of things. But how you distill is so interesting because you do your actions, you go around and you can buy all these different things. You can also buy cubes, which are basically like recipe cards that you'll be able to build that type of spirit. So at the beginning you start with none. So the only thing you could make is moonshine or vodka. But if you've bought a cube, there's bronze, silver, and gold, and they kind of go up in value for better spirits. So if you bought a bronze one, you'll only be able to make bronze wherever you put that cube. You'll only be able to make that type of spirit. So it might require like 2 plant sugars or something. Now, so your booze will always have to require water and yeast, and however many sugars you put into your distilling, because at the end of the gathering round or the action round, you will distill your liquor. So you will put your yeast in your water, your sugars. For however many sugars you have in there, you get to grab an alcohol. So then those will all go in, and these are just cards, and they will all go into your hand, and you will just shuffle them around. You can't see. And then you're going to skim off the top 1 card and off the bottom, just like I think you would do when you distill. I'm not even sure. But I'm thinking that's thematic. It's kind of cool, but it is a very big push your luck aspect. And you are hoping that whatever you still needed in that, like for the ingredients, is still there. Doesn't always work. Didn't work for me a couple times, but that's how it is.
Most of the time you're able to do another recipe.
Yeah, you're always going to at least make vodka or moonshine. So it's not like nothing that you're going to do. They're not worth as many points, but you'll still get to do something. And then the ingredients you skimmed off. So if you did skim off a really good ingredient, you do get to keep it in your pantry. So it's kind of it's not all bad. Because whatever you use to distill that's still in there, it goes away at the end. So you don't have those things. But then you will just count up the money that you've made, and each card will have some money on top and points on the bottom. And depending what alcohol that you have on your player board that you have actually successfully made, then you get the points for that. And then you'll get to grab this label. And there's these stacks of labels of the different spirits. And there's big piles of them. So at the beginning of the game, it's, there's not a big race for them because everybody will pretty much get them. Near the end, some of them are gone and you won't get these labels. Now you can still make the alcohol, but you won't get these labels to put on your board, which give you bonuses, and they're very good bonuses. They can be like getting a free upgrade, getting a free cube, just getting a free ingredient and all kinds of different things, just getting money. So you do that from round to round. The other thing you can do, or the other thing you do after you distill and get your money, which would be you'd be selling it. So you'd have to have a bottle to sell it in, and you actually have to have a barrel to make it in. If you don't have those things, you can't make it. There is one thing you can do. I think you can give up points for money if you can't distill anything, but that's kind of the only other thing you do. Or you can age it. And so by aging it, you're going to put it in your distiller or your cellar. I guess those are those spots. You'll place it there. You're going to stick a, is it a tasting card? Is it called? Tasting? Flavor card, yeah. And you'll stick it underneath. And then you put your label on top and it'll just sit there. Every round that you age it, you'll get another tasting card underneath. Or flavor. What did you say now? Flavor? Tasting?
Flavor.
I called it tasting, and you said flavor? Okay, flavor card. So you stick it underneath. And then once you do choose to sell it that round, however many flavor cards you have underneath are going to give you extra points. So and for your signature spirit, you do have to age it. So the more you age that, the more points you get. So it's kind of a strategy of, am I just going to make these and sell them and just make a bunch of money? Am I going to age them? But then some rounds you won't get any money. So then you won't have much to be able to do next round. But the round after that, then you'll get lots. So it's quite strategic, and it seems like there's tons of high replayability because we didn't get through nearly the 2 of the stacks we barely got through. We did get through the ingredient stack, and we also didn't use, there's other parts of the expansion that we didn't use, which are just more cards and more options and things, but it was really neat. And I think I lost. I came in last, but I chose to not get any upgrades, which I usually do. I don't know why I do this. I test this out in games where it's like, I'm going to try and get no tech. I'm going to try and get no upgrades and see if there's a way for me to get where I need to get. without doing that, but it didn't work. But mostly because I also had bad luck. There was 2 times I lost my main ingredient, and I just ended up making the like vodka or moonshine later on in the rounds where I could have made some really good stuff. But it was fun, and I look forward to playing that one again. Another one we played was a party game called Wavelength. You had on your shelf, and I was perusing, and I'm like, ooh, I haven't ever tried that. So we got to play that, and it was fun. And it's a quick game. I think we played it in like a half an hour. The 4 of us, you play teams of 2, and you have this little plastic contraption, I'll say, and it has this little dial that will go, like, it's kind of like, it's hard to really explain. I'm sure you've probably seen this game, but you put this arrow depending where you think something would be. But if you open it up, it'll show, like it'll have, I think it's gray, orange, yellow. Gray is the middle, and that's where you're trying to get this dial. And then to the outside of that is like orange, and then I think yellow. So if you get it in that vicinity, you're going to get points. But what you're trying to do is, so if I'm the person setting up like the clue and everything, I will spin the thing around, I'll open it up and see where the dial is. Say it's like directly in the middle. And then I pull out a card, and it says soft or hard. And so if it's like, obviously you wouldn't say rock, because rock would be on the very hard side. So you'd have to think of something that is completely in the middle of soft and hard. Maybe, I don't know, fudge? No, that's soft. Like, that would have been really hard. We did have this one. Somebody had it, and it was very far to the right, and so they just said rock, and so it was pretty easy to get that one. But we had some goofy ones that came up that we were like I'm trying to think of one now that was really funny, and I can't even think, but it's hilarious. And I've seen it, on reviews and stuff, and I just was like, I just don't get how it's fun. Like, it just seems like, it's just you're guessing something but when you play it, it is actually really fun, because if you get it in that part, you get those points. But before you flip to see what it is, the other team gets to see if you are too far left or too far right, and they can choose. And if they are correct that you didn't go far enough, they also get a point. So there's ways to get points on everybody else's turn. And there's a few times where we were like, oh, it was something about like cringy and not cringy or something. And Ashley had said sugar on paper.
Oh, and rough to smooth.
Rough to smooth, that's what it was.
Right.
And so Cherry guessed, and then me and you got to like counter if we thought it was right. And I'm like, oh, I know she hates like certain textures. Like, she absolutely can't stand certain textures. And I'm like, that would make her absolutely go off the deep end. And so I said, I think it's even further right. And were we right? No, I can't remember.
I think we did get that point, because I was like, well, yeah, but it's sugar on paper.
It's just like, sugar on
paper's
paper.
Still like, smooth. It's not like it would catch, and it's not like it'd be sandpaper. But you're like, no, I know Ashley. And I was like, hey, then let's go with what. Yeah, it was funny. Knowing somebody makes a difference in this game.
It would be. Yeah,
like, we did one is like fun chores to worst chores.
Oh, yeah.
And I had grating cheese. And most people was like, well, okay, whatever, grating cheese. I hate grating cheese. I don't know why. I hate it. It's like, I will spend the extra bucks to get the pre-grated cheese. It's like, but it's like, well, just grate the cheese. And it's not like it's hard or whatever. I don't know why I don't like grating cheese. And it's not like I'm scared I'll grate. Yeah, so it's like, that was like, yeah. That's a bad chore.
I hate it. Thank God I have a restaurant where I can take blocks and just through the machine there. Like, here, do this for me.
I should get you grate my cheese.
Yeah, send me your blocks of cheese.
Oh boy.
Good. Awesome. Okay, well, let's get into our top 9. What is your number 9?
Okay, so number 9 of games that might be better to play than Risk, I have Smallworld. And this one was created in 2009, and it's created by Philip Kiegert. And Smallworld is, you have this map, and you have these different population that you're going to go, and it plays very much like Risk. I should point out I am not a fan of Risk. I've played Smallworld before, just a one time. It was interesting because you could be like, okay, well, I'm going to be the orc druids, and you put that together and it gives you different abilities, and you go out and you spread out and you try to gain control and you battle with each other. So very much like Risk. For me, a little too much like Risk. So it's not one that I have in my collection. I played it the one time. I was like, okay. And then it's kind of interesting because at some point you have to decide, like, because you can only have so much, or you can only do so much with your faction. And eventually you'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to bring a new one in, and you kind of get rid of all your guys and you kind of start up again. It is interesting. If you
they go
like
into decay or something, don't they?
Yeah, or something like that, or eradicate or something, like, and then all of a sudden your population goes away and you bring in a new species.
Yeah.
If you like Risk, you will probably like this one better. And it looks nice. The artwork is great. The replayability, just because it changes up all the time, is really up there. For me personally, just because of how I feel about Risk, a little too much like Risk. So that's why it's at the bottom of my list. But you can't talk about games that replace Risk and not bring up Smallworld, in my opinion. So that's my number 9, Smallworld.
Yeah. I've played it maybe more than once at the old game cafe, and like not a favorite of mine, but much better than Risk, and like more interesting with the combinations you can make of the factions are kind of cool. But yeah. Okay, well, my number 9, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's more like a filler that would be Risk-like. But it's still got like the area control to it, but it's with dice. So this is Las Vegas, made in 2012 by Rudiger Dorn. Now, this is... so instead of dudes on a map, it's dice on a casino. And you are just kind of trying to control these casinos, but in a super fun way where you're just rolling dice, and on your turn, you will choose a number. So say I rolled like 3 5s, 2 6s, and 4 4s. I don't even know how many dice you get, but let's just say I did that. And I chose to take all my 4s and put them on the 4 because that casino was paying out 100,000, which is big. Now, I would think, oh, okay, well, I probably got that one. But, so that's my turn, then it passes around, the next person could roll. They might roll 5 4s and be like, boom, I'm putting it on there. Or they might roll 2 4s and just start them there. You know, okay, well, I'm going to just go there, and the next time I'll see if I can get them, but I don't want you to have that 100,000. And then you just kind of go around the table, and once you're done all your dice, whoever controls them, meaning you have to have the most pips or the most dice on there. If you tie someone, you guys are out. So I could have put 5 and that other person could have put 5, hoping they'd get another one, but we didn't. And someone came in with a single 1 4 and they would get it because we knocked each other out. So that part to me is so cool. And then the expansion that I have adds some of these like giant dice that will like knock some dice out. So you can put one down, kick one out, or you have ones that double, add as 2 dice, and all different kinds of things. And it's such a fun game. We play at Christmas. You can play with, I think, up to 8, maybe it's 6, or the expansion maybe brings it to 8. Amazing. So it's, you know, you can kind of stand around the table and you're doing this. And it just reminded me of like when I first played it, I was like, oh, I guess it's kind of like a really quick version of, you know, trying to control areas, but being able to kick someone out, you know, but it's just more fun with dice, and the theme to me is so much better. But that's my number 9, Las Vegas.
Perfect. My number 8. So there's different aspect of Risk. You have the map where you're kind of spreading out and taking control. You have your armies that kind of evolves, and then you have like the dice battle. So my number 8 is dice thrown to mimic that dice battle portion of the game. This one was created in 2018 by Nate Chatelier and Manny Tremblay. And this is one that I really like. In fact, I have Dice Throne Season 1, the big box, so with the 8 characters. I have Season 2 with those 8 characters. I have Marvel with those 8 characters. And I have the Santa versus Krampus with those 2 characters. And then I have Dice Throne adventure that takes your Dice Throne characters and put them into a dungeon crawl. So I'm a fan. But it's so great because you get the character and the box, first of all, and how it's all arranged, and you have like your little tray for that one character, and you pop the lid and you open your board. That opens up in 3, and then the artwork that Manny does is amazing. And then you have all your custom dice, and each characters on your board have like different areas where there's different attacks you try to activate, and you're going to roll the dice, and they'll have symbols and numbers on there, and you're trying to get the right combination that will activate one of the attacks. And then you have cards that can mitigate your dice, or that can upgrade some of your attacks. That'll either make your attack stronger or give you new type of attacks that you can activate as well. And it's a battle to the death, so you do this, you can roll up to 3 times, selecting the dice, activate your attack the other players, and they attack you, and the back and forth. So this is really mimics that dice battle aspect that you'll see in the Risk board game, and it's just so good. I love this game. And that's my number 8, Dice Throne.
Awesome. My number 8, I've only played one time, but I remember playing it and thinking, yes, again, this is much better than Risk. And that is the Game of Thrones, the board game. This is made in 2011 by Christian Peterson. Have you played this ever?
You know what? I owned it for a while. I never played it, and then I've sold it since.
It's a game, I don't know, that you need to own. It's like, if somebody's like enthusiastic and has it, that's who you want to play it with, because they would know there's a lot of different rules in there, but you are different, like the different families from Game of Thrones, and you're just trying to like kind of force your way onto the map, just like you would in Risk, right? And take over as many as possible. There's so many rules that I can't even remember, but I was big into Game of Thrones, so at the time I was just like, a game about it? Bring it on. And then it was like, oh, it's not really my type of game, but it was much better than Risk. And if I were to play something that, I had to play like a Risk-like game, at least something that is more thematic for me was cool, because each round you can do certain things, but in order to like move in, but then people could attack you. So you have to kind of do some defensive things sometimes, but then you kind of want to go on the offense. And I can't even list some of the actual actions that you do, but I just remember kind of we all kind of came from the outside of the board. And maybe you kind of do that in Risk. I can't even remember if you start in the middle or where you start, but we all kind of started on the outside and started to like creep into each other's territories and maybe take over, or you can build alliances just like in Risk and promise things that you will never keep and all that kind of stuff. And it's a very long game too. I don't even know if we completed it because we played it at a cafe, and I think it closed before we actually got the final chapter or whatever finished, but we got the main gist of it. But that's my number 8, Game of Thrones, the board game.
Yeah, that one, when I got looking deeper into it, it says 3-player or more. So we have to have like the kids involved, and it seemed so take that like, you know what, I just don't think this one will work for us. So yeah, no, it looked cool though. The components, like tons of components either. Also, like it looked really interesting. All right, my number 7 is by far the oldest one on my list. And this is taking like the element of Risk. Like with Risk, you have your armies and you go and you attack. And this game is called Tanks. And it's created in 1985, and there was no there was no designers assigned to it. But I got this one at first because my oldest, was big into tanks and models, and with these ones you buy this game and the base game has 3 models that you assemble, put together. You can paint them if you want, or you can leave them in the beige or brown colors that they are, or the gray color that they are, and they're all very historically accurate as well, and you're replaying these battles. And then so you have your tanks, and then you have like the arrow that kind of calculates how much you can move your tank by. And then we bought them like a laser pointer that does a straight line, so you can see line of sight. And you have these cardboard pieces that you can add to the map that can kind of be like, okay, well, there's a building here, and there's trees over there, and then so you build your terrain, and then you start against on either side of each other, and then you send your tanks out, and then you move, and then you try to get the line of sight of the other tank. And then when you do, and you're going to shoot at them, now you bring out the dice and you roll to see if you have a successful shot and they can defend. And the whole thing is just like the pure battle. Like, it's like if you're playing Risk, it's like, okay, there is battle and you roll the dice, but it's like it just zooms in on that one battle and makes that into a whole game. But just the components was neat with all the tanks. And then there was extra like packs that you can buy. So we have tanks from like all the different countries. You could buy like upgraded dice, and then we bought like the 4x4 mat that unrolls out, and then you have like and it's just like the map that we got is just like a wooden terrain, and you can see tracks and stuff, but then you start adding all these cardboard that adds your terrain, so it's different every time. It was cool. My son and his best friend loved this game. They both got tons. And we used to go and drive to Calgary once a week for the tanks group that would get together on Monday evenings. And then they'd play and battle and stuff. And it was a really neat event to attend. And the guys really enjoy this game. So that's my number 7, tanks.
Yeah, you've talked about that one before. All right. Well, my number 7 is a game that is from one of my favorite designers, but I don't own this. I've considered it here and there a couple times, except that it's always not my typical genre. But that is Scythe, made in 2016 by Jamie Stegmaier. And this one is like, it is an area control, but you almost don't have to play it that way. Like, you do start in your areas and you do move into the board. You can take over things, but it's not like you destroy them completely. You send them back home, basically, and take their resources. So it's not, everything isn't, you don't completely kick somebody off and they are out of the game or anything. It is the winning factor in this one is that you have to collect so many stars. And so it's a race almost, as more than it is, destroying and removing. There's like also the actions that you take on this. You have this player board and you have all these actions on the top of the board that you can take. But once you upgrade these actions, you get to take the actions on the bottom as well, which is cool because then you get, better actions as you upgrade. So you have to choose, like, are you going to spend your time upgrading? Are you going to spend your time developing resources, like putting more troops out, I guess, on the board? You have these big mechs that you can put out that are a little bit more powerful. You want to kind of try and visit the factory in the middle because you get these really cool cards that will give you stuff. It's really cool. I haven't played any of the campaigns. There's like some expansions. I haven't played any of that. I've only played the base, but it was really interesting. And when I saw the game at first, I thought, oh, there's no way I'm going to like this game. And I don't know whatever drove me to actually play it, but I actually did like it. And it's interesting. And it's, for me, it would be as close to almost Risk that I would really enjoy. And that is Scythe, my number 7.
Yeah, I want to try that one sometimes. I haven't played it. I haven't, no. Mm-hmm. It looks good. I have a lot of Scythe coins. Yeah, those are nice. The extra coins just to have with any games, but yeah. Perfect. All right, so my number 6 doesn't match the theme of Risk at all. But I like this one matches Risk because it's also area control. And this is probably my favorite area control game. So that's why this one made the list. Otherwise, it's not about battle. It's not about army. So there's some aspect doesn't match as much. But my number 6 is Viral. And Viral was created in 2017 by Gil Dori and Antonio Susalera. And this one, first of all, is beautiful. You have these bright colors and you have this big board and the brain on the top, and then you have the heart, and then you have the lungs, and then you have all these, different organs you would find in the body. And each player plays as a different virus. And you have your little, tokens that represents the virus that you are. And it's very cartoony, it's like this one has like little spikesy looking up or whatever are sticking out. And the goal is you're trying to infect the body. and you're trying to have the most presence in these different organs so that you will score for being the one making that organ sick. But you want to try to make yourself into like a superbug because the body might fight back and send antibiotics, and then if you're not a superbug, it'll wipe you out. And then you'd have to kind of start trying to infect the body again. And you will move from organs to organs, but you got to go through the blood vessel, and blood flows a certain way, so you got to follow the path, and you're moving around. This game is neat. It is so cool. But it is pure area control. Like, you're just trying to control these different organs and be the person that has the most influence there, so you're the one who gets that organ sick. One thing I really like about this game as well is the playthrough is so clearly indicated right on the board that it is easy to kind of keep track of what needs to be done. Once you kind of learn what it all means, and then it's like, okay, so now we do this, okay, now you do that, and you move this, and then there's like, so it makes playing the game very straightforward just because it's so well represented, and the artwork is adorable, and so the whole theme is neat. So that's my number 6, Viral.
Go to it. My number 6 is Brazil Imperial. This is made in 2021 by Zé Mendes. Now this one is one that is very similar to Scythe, but a little bit different. You have the same kind of player board where you can do actions on the top, and you can upgrade to have better actions. You are building out on a map, and you all start in a corner kind of thing. You don't really you do attack other people, but again, it's not like you kick them off the board and they're gone and they can be out of the game or anything. It's more you just take over some of the things they have, and that's basically it. But most of the time, we haven't ever played it that way. We've always played it where we're just kind of building our own empire. So you kind of move across the map and you build different buildings. You have missions. There's 3, and they might maybe not even called missions, but there's 3 levels of them, and you don't have to go in order. But as soon as you complete 3, like all the first, second, and third, then that triggers the end of the game. But most likely you do go in order because the one is easier than the second, and the second's easier than the third. You can get cards as different upgrades. People will help you. You, on the board alone, you will discover some tiles. So there's some that are kind of have a tile in them that are flipped, and you want to go see what those are. So there's different ways to do that. They might be animals, which you would just want to collect, but they also might be things that you will have to fight and destroy, and you have to have enough power to do that. So you will have to have enough of your figures and army power in order to defeat that, and then you will get that tile, and it'll give you more points at the end. It's like a nicer version, I would say, of Risk, but very Euro-y and really cool. Like it's a beautiful game. The cards and the art on them are so, like, they look very classic and beautiful. It's really neat and interesting. And if you haven't tried Scythe or this one, I don't know which one I'd do first, but you should try both of them. But that's my number 6, Brazil Imperial. Ashley has Brazil Imperial. It's good.
Nice. I haven't tried that one yet either. Mm-hmm. So my number 5. Now, this was a game that my friend had, and he had never played it, and it kind of, honestly, if you look at the game, it doesn't look that great. The theme is interesting. The component looks kind of cartoony, so I was like, well, maybe your kids will like this, so he gave it to me. And this is Monster Menace America. It was created in 2005 by J.C. Connors and Ben Knight. And for the longest time, it sat on my shelf. And I mean, like, at least 2-3 years. It just sat on my shelf. We didn't play with it. And then one day I was like, okay, well, let's give this a try. And the game has some big flaws. I will say, like, in the gameplay, there's some big flaws that we came across, and then kind of finished the game. And then for the rest of the evening, we couldn't stop talking about it. And we kept kind of like, oh, well, what about this? And it's like, oh, and then there was this. And then it's like, and it made such an impact that we just kept talking about it. And like, and while we're in bed laying and then on the pillows and looking at each other, and we're still talking about this game. that we had played earlier in the evening is like, okay, there's just something about this game that is amazing. And what's neat with this, like, you have, each player will have a monster, and there's a different monster. You could have like a giant lobster that attacks America, or you could be like a giant eyeball that attacks America. It's kind of like old monster style, it's like these ridiculous thing. Or it's one is like a praying mantis, a giant praying mantis that's attacking or whatever. But they're all like colorful and stuff. So the little component that you have, like controlling this monster, looks cool. And then each player also will control a branch of the U.S. Army. So you could be the Army, you could be the Navy, you could be the Air Force, you could be, so you're going to control a different branch of this. And then you could, depending on what you are, maybe you have tanks, maybe you have these fighter planes, maybe you have missiles, or like there's different things that you're going to have and control that's going to try to defend America. So you play both sides. You play a monster side that's going to try to destroy these different cities and storm and stomp on all of these. And the more you do that, the more powerful you become in the first phase, because the second phase, then it's like all the monsters battle each other and you try to get the last monster standing wins the game. And then you also play the U.S. Army portion, where you're trying to kind of destroy the other player's monsters to protect America, and you're going to go and you're going to try to intercept them and trying to attack them and push them away from certain areas, and then trying to make them weaker and all that stuff. So the two, like the fact that you're playing both sides is really interesting. You have the whole map and you're trying to get control of this, and you're trying to, it's very much area control like Risk is. It's very much the battle thing such like Risk is, but this is so neat. So we did tweak the rules a little bit. Mostly it was the second portion of the game where it didn't quite work for us. So we just, like, I went on Boardgame Geek and kind of look, and then there was a bunch of suggestions that people had made. So we kind of put together something together. We wrote it all down. We played it that way. And for us, it's a lot better that way. But I mean, even playing with the flawed rules, we couldn't stop talking about it. So, and every time we play it, we still get that, oh my God. And then we spend like the whole evening talking about our game experience with this. So just the experience that it creates is amazing. So that's my number 5 monster, Menace America.
Cool. All right, my number 5 is a 2-player game. So this is Radlands, made in 2021 by Daniel Petrichor. Now this one to me is Risk with cards, basically. You're not on a map, I should say, but you are literally trying to just destroy the other person, destroy their camps. You start with 3 camps that are at the back of the table, so you sit across from each other. And the deluxe version of this comes with this beautiful player mat, which I would like to get my hands on, because it's like, it lays everything out where you place all your cards. It's not necessary, but it would sure be really neat to have. And so what you do is you start it with 3 camps. There's a whole bunch of camps in the game. I think there's like 20 or something. And so you kind of deal them out. I think you get to choose out of maybe 4 or 5. You choose the 3 that you're going to use, and you'll place them in front of you, and they're right in front of you. And then you have spots in front of those camps, and you're trying to protect those camps, because the whole point of the game is destroy the other person's 3 camps, you win the game. And how you do that is you have different actions that you can do. You can use actions to like pick up cards, or you can use the action. They're multi-use cards, which is really cool. On the top of the card, I believe, now I can't remember if it's the top, you could just play the card and do that action, and then that card is gone. Or you could kind of hire that person, if it's a person, and place it down, and you'll have to pay with water. Water is the currency. And you do always get a certain amount of water each round, like it just refills kind of thing. You can choose to use different things to get more water. You can just flip the card over, and it's just a single punk, they call it. So it's a 1 protection in front of your camp. If you have nothing else to do, you have no water, that might be one thing you do, is just flip it over. And then there's other things you can get, which are events, and those kind of go to the left of your player board, and it's kind of cool because you'll have an event and you'll start it. It'll say what level it'll start at, but mostly it'll start at level 1 and it'll move up each round. And once it gets to the top, that's when it'll attack or, do something to the other camp. So the other person can see it coming and they know what it is because I think they're face up, the events, right?
Yep.
And then, the other player goes. So you might have a few people protecting some of your camps, but the first round, you might not have a whole lot of protection. And so all they're trying to do is just attack your camps. And you do get one chance. I think you flip the first time they're attacked, they get flipped over. And then once they're attacked again, they're gone. I haven't played it for a while because, again, I can't really find anyone who likes it. Me and you have to have a 2-player game day where we play these 2-player games that we really like that really nobody else likes. But I just love this one, and I know you have it and you enjoy it too.
Yes.
And that's my number 5, Radlands.
Yeah, I gotta say Radland, gorgeous game. The artwork is beautiful.
Oh yeah,
I have the retail version, which is still great because you got the really thick cardboard components. There's a deluxe version with the acrylics component that looks amazing, and there's one that comes with a neoprene mat that looks amazing. So yeah, that's a neat one. All right, my number 4 matches Risk by theme quite a bit. So it's all about the army fighting another army in the battle. And this is Memoir 44. This one was created in 2004 by Richard Borg. And I love this game. The first time I played it, it was funny because this is a 2-player game. And we would have game events and then with my siblings and family or whatever. And my brother would be there and say, oh, let's play this one. And I would turn him down all the time. I was like, well, no, we got other people here, so let's play something everybody can play. And I'll play this one some other time. And he really, really wanted me to play it. And I'm like, okay, but no. And then I was like, I'll come over to your house one day and we'll play it. And I went over and we played it. And I was like, oh my God. And then I kind of have the thing where it's I will buy games as I come across them. I don't hunt them down. I hunted this one down. And I bought it, and it was an $80 game, and I didn't blink. It was so good. So what's really interesting is you're replaying the Battle of Normandy. So it's World War II, very historically accurate, and they kind of will different scenarios. So say, well, we'll do this battle, and then you have the map. So you have the map, and then you add all the terrain based on what it shows you. But okay, well, there's a bunker here, and there was a bridge there, and there was a river that went across here, and there was trees over here, and then we had tanks here, and there was infantry over there, and you kind of place all of this, and then you have the little minis of the tanks and the infantry, and then there's always 4 of them, and then so you set it all up, and then you set the axis up as well, and then you replay the battle. It tells you, this is what was happening, this is what was going on, and this was the outcome of the battle. But now you replay it to see how you're gonna. So you can move your units, depending on the units, how quickly they move and that sort of stuff. Whether you have, coverage, it's oh, I'm in the tree, so I'm a little bit more protected. So I get, you lose a dice when you attack me, so you don't get as many dice. And then you'll roll the dice to do the battles. Okay, well, I'm attacking tanks, so you're rolling. So you're trying to get tank symbols or the star symbols, and those are hit. Otherwise, anything else is a miss. Or you're fighting infantry, and then now you're trying to get the infantry symbol on these dice. And these are wooden dice. And this was the first time I played a game with wooden dice, and it's freakishly light.
Yeah,
it's your roll is oh, this is weird. Mm-hmm. And then the game comes so that you get these card holders because you get all these cards. All these actions that you do are controlled by the cards, and the cards will kind of be hey, you can move 3 infantry units in the left panel of the map, or in the middle, or anywhere on the board, or so you try to have to have the right card in order to control your units and attack. Army games are going to get very intricate, and they're going to play forever, and that's my biggest drawback with Risk, is it's the game that never ends. Mm-hmm. Memoir 44 will play roughly in 30 minutes. Oh, wow. And you get that neat army battle feel, and it looks great, and it's quick. It's over fairly quickly, so you could be okay, let's do the next battle, or you could call it quits, so it's not one that overstays its welcome at all. And I adore this game. And it's just beautiful. So that's my number 4, Memoir 44.
Awesome. My number 3 is a crossover. Any guesses?
First one. I'm going to guess Viral.
Yeah. Yeah, Viral. I played this at our old cafe and I played it one time and I'm like, I don't really like this. But I went home and thought about it all night long and those little cute little germs. And then I'm like, oh, I probably could have done this or did that. And then went back, I think the next week or the one after, I'm like, okay, we got to try this again. And so we played it again. And then I think I did terrible the first time. So of course, like, it's like, I don't even get the strategy of it, but thinking about it, then played it again and I did a lot better. And I played it a few times at the cafe since then. Do you have this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we'll have to play this sometime because it is a very unique, but the theme is so fun and cool. Like, who would have ever thought of this theme? It's fun, and I really like it. That's my number 3, Viral.
Great choice. My number 3 is one that I played for the first time at your gaming event at your restaurant. And this is Wonderland's War, created in 2022 by Tim Heisner, Ben Heisner, and Ian Moss. And I mean, this one is Alice in Wonderland theme, so it doesn't match the army world takeover theme at all, except that you kind of go around and you take in turn and you're putting control on these different areas, and then you're trying to kind of battle for the control of those sections. So it has that area control aspect for sure. Components are great. The board is beautiful. It's like I've said, I've only played it the one time. Pretty sure I did decent, but I think I came in second. Somebody just kind of sneaked by me at the end there, but it was really interesting. Like, you have interesting decisions as to where you're gonna send your control, and it's because you gotta push your luck as well, like pulling things out of the bag, and and I'm trying to remember things. Like I said, I've only played it the one time, so many aspect of it is nothing like Risk, except that where you place everything and that trying to gain control of the areas at the end of each round, which was really interesting. And to me, I mean, it's a slightly longer game, but it kept it a lot more interesting than I find Risk it gets to be. So, and that was really neat. So that's my number 3, Wonderland's War.
Yeah, that one has so many mechanics in it because it has the rondelle first, where you go around and collect your cards, and then it has the bag building because you're choosing chips to put in your bag that you can hopefully pull out, and then you have the Risk part of it where you choose where you're putting things and hoping that you have more strength than everybody else at that spot. But you just never know what will happen with some of the cards you have. You might have the most, but somebody has a card that can add more or move some around. And yeah, that's a good choice. All right, my number 2 is Petrichor, made in 2018 by David Chirkop. Now, this one is an area control with raindrops. So it's like a super light theme, but it is a mean game. Like, it's not... You would think, oh, we're just going to play as raindrops. Oh, la, 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 la. No, it is very mean. Because you are trying to, develop clouds that will make your rain, land onto these tiles that you want to control. But the unique thing about some of these tiles, and the game comes with... Well, I have the collector's edition, so I have so many different tiles. You can make a new game probably 100 different times because you only use a certain amount of tiles depending on player count, not a whole lot. But what you're trying to do is rain your raindrops down onto the card to be able to control that tile. I say card, but I mean tile. And some of the tiles don't necessarily want you to have the most. Some of them want you to have the second most. So it's really tricky because, how do you plan to not win that tile? Usually you just go to win everything. Win this, have the most. No, I want the second most. So that's really tricky. And then there's different ways how you can do that. use cards as the play mechanic, and they're all different types of weather. So it's wind, snow, rain, and sun, I believe. Wind, snow, rain, and sun possibly. And so you're going to choose one of those actions to play, and that's what you'll get to do. And they do different things. So like rain, what might let you put a raindrop in a cloud that is not even there. So you get to take this little plastic, almost looks like a little standee with a open cloud on it, and then you let to put your little glass raindrop in it, which is so cool. Or acrylic, they're probably acrylic beads, or acrylic like drops. And then you're trying to get more in there, and then another card like a wind might let you blow that cloud over to another tile, and that's how you can get it over. And then sun might just let you grow. So if you already have your raindrops onto a tile, it might grow that tile a little bit more. They all kind of do different things, the actions. But on the same part, what you're doing is after that is done, you get to vote. And so you always have some sort of vote that is either the card you played or the one directly after it, which is on a dial. So it's like a clockwise thing. So you would either use, like, if you had played a rain card, you could either vote rain or the one after it, or you can just vote to harvest. Now, the harvest is these 2 dice that are in the middle of this little table that you roll them at the beginning, and they might start with numbers on them, but you are trying to get them to these wheat symbols. Once they get to the wheat, you have a harvest, and that's when all the tiles score. So that's another part of the game, is that at the end of the round, the tiles might not even score. So you might have set yourself up completely perfect. I control this tile, I control that one. I'm second on this tile, but there's no harvest. So we don't score this round. It's going to completely change next round. And from like turn to turn, things completely change. So it's not like you can have this huge master strategy. You just have to play by the seat of your pants. And it's just really unique. And if you like that part of Risk where it's like, oh, I want to be mean and I want to get everybody, but I want a different theme, this is the one to do it. It's so beautiful. That's my number 2, Petrichor.
Nice. That one does sound interesting, for sure. All right, my number 2 is a game that I just love. It's very much like Risk. It's battling, it's area control. It does not have the dice element. And this is Blood Rage. So Blood Rage was created in 2015 by Eric M. Lang. And this game is just so good. So you have the map of Ragnarok is upon us. The world is coming to an end. And like province by province, they're getting destroyed. And as Vikings, you get a lot of honor dying that way. And then you're going to be like, you're going down in a battle and you're fighting each other for control of these different areas. And then, and you get kind of glory points for being in battles. You get glory points for dying, and you're trying to bring in your guys out, and you put them out on the board and you move them around, and they're worth different strength. And then you can kind of, with the cards, because there's card drafting as well in the beginning, so you'll have goals that you're trying to create, which would be like, okay, well, if you have the most control in one of the blue province, then you would gain that many points. Or maybe that you get extra, and you can up like cards that will allow you to upgrade your abilities for your army guys or your chieftain guy, or the monsters that you can have join your clan. And you'll have cards that kind of add strength to your battles. So you'd be like, hey, we're going to battle. I have this. Yeah, but I have this card that gives me +5 attack, so it kind of makes you that much stronger. And you add all these different things and get the battle. I don't know why. I really, really like this game. I'm not very girly girl, apparently, because some of my favorite games are all like glore like in battle games, but I like this one. This one is so clever. It's really well designed. If you've never played it and you want to learn it, it's on the Dized app that teaches how to play, that makes it learn so easy. Me and my friend Travis taught this game to Nick last time, and we are amazing teachers because Nick almost slapped us in points. It was ridiculous. He was just like a couple of points behind us, like, oh my God, because he gone all the way around. It's so neat though. I really enjoy this one. And then you have like the little minis that you put on the map. So love this game. And that's my number 2, Blood Rage.
Yeah, I've only played this once, but I'll have to play this with you. I'll get you to teach me. Maybe then I'll win. And that was your number 2?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I missed one.
Oh,
there. No, I didn't. Never mind. Okay. My number 2 is Wolves, made in 2022 by Ashwin Kanath and Clarence Simpson. Now, this one is very similar, I would say, to Risk, only instead of dudes on a map, it's wolf packs that are trying to control this map. Did you play this at my convention? No, you would like this, I think.
I saw it there, but yeah.
Yeah, Ashley might be selling this one, so you might have to go on that. But it's really cool because you start with one alpha and then one wolf, and they start on the map. How you play your actions is with these terrain cards. So you have a hand of terrain cards, and they each do a certain action. I think in the combination that you play them, and so you can either move your pack and try to get certain things, because there are some little tiles on the board that you're trying to get that will help you build up your pack, or like give you meat or something like to eat. There's ways that you can bring out another alpha, I think. There's ways you can move across the map and you can actually go into other people's packs. Not their alpha. I don't believe you can take over their alpha, but if they have like just a single wolf there, you can take them over, and then I don't know if they die. I can't remember if they go off the board, but it helps you, improves your little player board, because you're trying to upgrade all these little things like your pack movement, your size of your pack, and different things like that. The card play, like I said, is with these terrain cards, which is really unique because you can use them different ways. I think they are two-sided. So depending on what you need at the time, you can use them. And then once they're used, I think you take a turn to like grab them all back. And then you might have to like do one action over and over. So you might have to like just return all your cards. But it's so unique. And of course, I absolutely love wolves. So this theme really drew to me. I think we've only played it once or twice, but I really want to play it again. And yeah, that's my number 2. We're on Wolves.
Nice. My number 1 is a game that I played a long time ago when I kind of first got into the hobby. And it was the first time that I saw an area control deck building game. And I was so impressed with it. And this was one I was like, oh, area control, I don't like those. But it was so fun. And I was like, oh, maybe I do. So that's Tyrant of the Underdark. This one was created in 2016 by Peter Lee, Rodney Thompson, and Andrew Veen. And this game is so neat. Like I said, I don't own this one. I'm on the lookout. If I come across it, I'm going to want to have it. But what's really interesting, because I played it again and I saw the setup. Last time I got there was set up and I played it, and it was neat. Because it's a bit like Dominion, where you'll have different cards that gets brought in depending on the games and what got placed. So the game would change from game to game. But you have your starting hand, and it's deck building, so you can play, and then your hand will kind of move your troops that's on the map. And you will move from areas to areas, and if you gain control of different areas, you kind of gain points and stuff for that. But then other people will come in and attack and try to take you down. So it is very much like Risk as far as the area control onto the map. But then you could place like your shield and kind of like gain control of certain territories, and these shields are going to give you points and kind of give you more things that you can do, and then or cards that you can purchase, and you get more cards, so you get more powerful cards of things that you can do. The whole thing works so well. It looks great. Now, from what I understand, there's 2 versions, like an older version and a new version. And from what I understand, my friend had combined the best elements of both versions and placed them on the same one. So you have the map that's really neat, and then the one that I played in, you got these little kind of colored minis that you have to put your troops down, and you have your little colored shields that you put down, and kind of that's what shows the control that you have. But I really enjoy this game. It's great. And that's my number 1, Tyrant of the Underdark.
Awesome. My number 1 is Mission Red Planet, made in 2015 by Bruno Cathala and Bruno Feduti. Now this one, again, I'd played it at the cafe the first time. I think I scored 11 points, and that is really, really low. And I was like, I hate this game. And then it was another one I thought about, and we played it multiple times since then. And I figured out, like, there's so many different strategies in this game, but what you do in this game is you start, everybody has a hand of cards, so they have, like, it's 1 to 10, and these are the actions that you would choose one action per round. So you take the card and you place it face down, and then you start, like, the blast off kind of thing, because you were sending these your troops, or I'm not sure if they're aliens or what they are, but off into space. But how you do it is with these actions. So you have to load them onto these ships first. So you'll start with, like, you start with 9, you count down. If somebody has used card 9 as an action, then they get to go, and you get to go in turn order. So if I was, like, first player and 3 of us had 9s, I would get to go first. So I can't remember what each action does, but say the 9 was you get to put 3 people in one ship. So you would get to put 3 of your guys in one ship. And then we count down to 8, and that one was you get to deploy a ship, even if you aren't in it. You might deploy one that has just one single person, because it's not going to do anything with one person, right? Then you keep counting down, and there's all different things. You can move some from ship to ship. You can move once you get onto the planet. You can move them. Like, there's all different things that these cards do. But once you've played that card, you don't get it back yet, because you have to use an action, I think, to get all the cards back again. And so you have all these different rounds, but once you get onto this planet, there's all different areas, kind of like in Risk, that you kind of move into. And some of them have certain area controls that will give you certain things. You can get different, there's little things around the board that nobody knows what they are. They're like events, and you want to be able to see them. So there's cards that will let you, like, peek at those. And so you might be able to peek, and you'll know that, oh, you don't want to be in this area because this place is going to be, like, I don't know, blown up or something. But you don't ever want to know that. So you're like, okay, I'm just going to put a bunch of people there for now. So you think that everyone's like, oh, this is a good spot. Everyone's going to try and get there. And then you secretly move away. There's cards too that you can get cards and actually plant them under the planet, sides of the planet, and then no one can see them, so that you can kind of, like, fake something like what I just said. You can put a bunch of people there making everybody think it's a good spot to go. Then there's ways where you can, like, move over from different parts of the planet to the other planet, destroy people, and all your little guys will go on to this dead planet. I can't remember what it's called, death something, but that can be almost another strategy, because if you have a card that allows you, like, if you've picked up an event that is like, oh, you get 2 points for every person that's on there, well, you might just try to, like, piss people off, so they continually try to destroy you and throw you onto that planet, and then you're like, little do they know you have the card that's giving you points for all those people. I think I did that one time. That one was fun, because I was just kind of walking around trying to annoy everybody, and so they kicked me off there. But it's really neat how the mechanic plays of, you just choose one card, one action, and whatever to do, and then you, like, figure out what you're going to do after, and the order matters too. It's almost like a mini programming in there, because you think you know what you're going to be able to do, but you don't know what other cards are played and when they're played, and if what you wanted to do is even going to work, because someone might have pushed you or kicked you out of that side of the planet, and you can't even do what you wanted to do. But it's so interesting, and it's plays at a decent high player count, I believe. I think we played with, like, 6 players, which seems like a lot. Like, I don't know, what does Risk go up to? Like, can you play with a whole bunch?
I want to say 6, maybe 8.
But this was
because I mean I'm trying to visualize, and then you have like the bins with all the
there's a bunch of
at least 6 different colors.
Yeah.
So
But it's really unique. And do you have this one?
I do.
Yeah.
I have the first
We have to play
first version of it, but I've never played it yet.
Yeah, no, we'll have to play it sometime. I think you'll like it. It's very unique, that's for sure. And like each game can be completely different depending on some of the event cards that are out and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But that's my
I'm
number
excited
1,
to play
Mission Red Planet.
Nice.
Awesome.
So that was our top 9 for Games Better Than Risk, and I have 1 crossover.
Yeah, only 1.
I'm not surprised
No.
when it comes to area control. Like we tend to have different tastes.
Yeah, we do.
I'm more about the battle and
Yeah, and I think I'm more about some area control, but still leave me alone over here. I want to do my own thing, other than
don't bother me.
Yeah, a few of them, but awesome. So
Nice.
Next week we have decided we are going to do our top 9 bird games. Spring is coming here, and our snow is gone almost completely, finally. And today is a beautiful day. I think we're going to have some really nice warm weather, so I'm going to get outside. It's actually Greek Easter for me today. My husband's Greek, so it's a Greek Orthodox Easter. And so we are going to have a huge feast at his parents' place. His mom makes just wonderful Greek food, but a huge spread of food. Like, it's not just, one meat, one this and that. No, there's about 5 of each things. So there's lots of options. So I get to go do that today.
Nice.
But until next time, where can people find you?
Well, my Instagram page is Mal's_boardgame_room. My Facebook page is Mal's Board Game Room. And my YouTube channel is Mal's Board Game Room. And we also have a Discord channel for the board game specialists. So be sure to check us out there. And how about you, Carla? Where can we find you? I'm on Instagram at Board Game Specialist, all one word. And I have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. Mostly it has posts from Mal, so she does most of my PR on there. I had basically started it with a friend a while ago just to get some more people in Red Deer that are into board games, and mostly for like trading board games and whatnot. But Mal keeps us up to date with a lot of new and interesting things and questions and all kinds of things on there. So yeah, check those out if you can. But until next week, thanks for listening. Bye for now. Bye, everybody.